Hey friends, over 60% of you are listening to me right now on an Apple product. iPhone, iPad, iTunes. I need your help. The truth is, Apple will make this podcast more discoverable to new listeners the more reviews it has. So I'm here asking you to take a moment and leave a review. If you've gained any value from this podcast, the greatest thing you can do for it, besides spreading the word and telling friends, is leaving a review. It's real simple. If you're on your phone, head over to my podcast page within the Apple Podcast app and leave a review. Or if you're on a computer, you can head over to my podcast page within the iTunes app. That's it. That's all I ask. And if you have other podcasts that you love, do them a favor and do the same for them. It'll make their day. Now let's get this podcast started already. Welcome to the Gary Cantrell Podcast. Glad to have you guys with me. There we go. I'll tell you what, a true story, and I don't even need to involve this stuff or include it, but I feel like just be more completely open and transparent with you. Like sometimes when I have like a flub like that when I'm talking, I would generally stop the recording and start all over again. And by the way, I didn't care if that was like 30 seconds in, 5 minutes in, like one little flub could throw me off completely, and I would just stop the show and start it over. And when you hear a podcast like this, it's in one take. We do it in one take, and there are hundreds of thousands of other podcasts that go back and re-record stuff, and I'm just not about that life. I'm like, this is me. This is 100% truly and authentically me. And this is how we do it. So welcome back to the podcast. We don't have a guest this week. I don't think we're going to have a guest next week. That'll kind of start back up in the new year. And I actually haven't done an episode like this in quite some time. I want to say the last time I did one of these episodes was probably the episode where I talked about the slump I was in back in September. Is that right? I would almost have to grab my phone to look to be sure, but I want to say that was like the last time I did like a solo podcast. Maybe there was one in there. I don't know, but we had like guests all throughout the rest of the year, and I really enjoyed that, by the way. This has been a solid year of nothing but awesome guests, and hearing a lot of unique stories, you know, getting to meet some of you in person and doing it that way. Really awesome, by the way. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you guys to everybody who, most importantly, who listened to the show this year. I think you guys helped make it incredibly successful. I was looking at the numbers, and I can't even believe I'm talking about this because I come from a background of like internet radio, where back in the day it was like live internet radio. All the shows are competitive. You always inflate your numbers, always inflate your numbers. And I'm not going to do that here. I actually posted on Instagram a couple days ago, like the real numbers from the podcast this year. And I was just so impressed with the amount of people that have come on board this year versus last year. I switched hosting providers like 2 or 3 times this year. So I can tell you that since September, when I got onto Simplecast, I have had since then nearly 9,000. It's probably going to be 9,000 by the time that you hear this, because I think we were like right on the edge. You know, it was like 8,000 something. So probably 9,000 by the time you guys hear this. And by the end of the year, I don't know if it'll be 10,000, but it's coming pretty close. And that blows me away, honestly, because I know what last year looked like. And last year was maybe half of that, maybe. So to have it where it is now, I'm incredibly blessed for that. And I just have to thank you guys so very much for taking that time and checking out the show. And we've got a lot of new people on board, and I'm just so thankful You guys know me when it comes to like numbers and likes and clicks, and I don't really care about all that. It's not a vanity thing for me. It is a more of, I want to get this message out to as many people as possible thing. So the fact that we reached that many people blows my mind. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. I would love to tell you that next year we're going to do bigger and better things, and I hope that that in fact is the case. I'm going to do everything in my power to see to it that that happens, and I know that you can definitely count on me to continue to deliver great podcasts your way in 2019, getting more people on, and we just want to get this thing as big as we possibly can to get it into more homes, get it into more ears of people, just to let them know that there are ways to do the things that you want to do, because I think that a lot of times we're just not confident enough in ourselves, and boy, we will sell ourselves short before we'll ever put in enough effort to try to make lives better for ourselves. We'll make every excuse in the book. We will just downplay everything to death. I'm even downplaying this right now, where I'm like, I hope next year we can do bigger and better things. I'm going to bust my ass to make sure that we do some amazing things next year and keep the ball rolling. Speaking of goals in next year, I think next week's podcast is actually going to be that episode. I do remember doing it a couple of weeks earlier last year, and this year the scheduling just lined up nice and perfectly. So next week's show, you're going to be able to hear kind of my goals going into the new year, fitness goals, business goals, everything. I'm laying it out on the table for you, personal goals, laying it out for you on next week's show. So we'll talk about that then. But for right now, we should talk about where I just came from, Charleston, South Carolina. You guys know that I love Charleston, South Carolina. And thanks to my father-in-law and my wife, we did some amazing big surprise. It's a big surprise going down there. I got a call from my father-in-law like the end of last week. Actually, no, I'm sorry, the week before. Yeah, what am I saying? Because it was like the Thursday before last week. And he said, hey, man, pack your stuff next week, like next Wednesday. We're going to Charleston. And I'm like, wait, what? What? Excuse me? And so the whole idea is that my cousins, Kelly and Ryan, they always throw this big Christmas party every single year. And we've been invited every single year, and we're never able to go, just for one reason or another, whether that's what day Christmas falls on, or just, financial situation or other things get in the way, work gets in the way. And for whatever reason, we never get to make it to this party. Well, this year, unfortunately, my wife did not get to go, but my father-in-law was there. And he said, let's go. And so we went, and we didn't tell a single person. And by the way, if you go on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Gary Cantrell, I did a vlog. Good God, I need to do more of these things, because I had a lot of fun shooting it. We did a vlog where I document the entire day, from getting up that morning to picking him up, to going to the wrong airport. That's right. Yes, that happened. To going to the right airport, to getting on the plane, to getting to Charleston, getting in an Uber, and sneaking into their house. Yes, you heard that right. So I hate to spoil the video. I mean, I'm going to kind of share the story here a little bit, but we got the whole thing on video, surprised them. They had no idea that I was coming. And so let's talk about it. But you can see the video if you want the visual to what I'm talking about. youtube.com/Gary Cantrell, and throw me a little subscription over there if you could, please. I promise I'm going to make this more of a priority going into next year. I just have some limiting beliefs that keep me from big success in the YouTube world, because, I guess I just don't have enough confidence when it comes to making vlogging type content because I love vlogs. This is what I watch. I watch all the time on YouTube, vlogs. If it's not vlogs, it's like, like a concept video, like, giving money to random strangers or doing this or doing that. And these are all things that I want to do. I feel like, though, right now, maybe I'm not doing enough interesting things that warrant filming, and I feel like I'm going to bore people to death. And so I just don't hit record. And that is one thing that stops so many people that could be very creative. And doing this vlog, going to Charleston, proved to me that, in fact, I have the ability to do some cool things with the vlog, and I just need to apply myself a little more and work a little harder on it. So, that is something that, I want to do more of. So he calls me up. He says, "Hey, I got plane tickets. We're going to Charleston next week." And we make all the arrangements. We're leaving Wednesday night. I am, by the way, off of my quote unquote day job until January 2nd. So, all these days in between leading up to Christmas and New Year's, I have been off. So for him to say, "Hey, we're going to leave on a Wednesday and come back Monday, Christmas Eve," I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like I'm in, obviously I'm good to go. So, I misread the ticket. Now you have two airports in the DC area. You have Reagan National, which is named after our former president, Ronald Reagan. And then you have Dulles Airport, which I don't even know what Dulles means, but my day job is also out that way. Now, for whatever reason, and I guess I'm just more used to flying out of Dulles, I thought that our plane was flying out of Dulles. And one of the benefits to having a job near the airport is that I am allowed to park there at the airport while I'm away. It's, clear it with the boss. Boss says it's fine. Park the car there. No problem. No having to pay $50 for, a couple of days. I don't have to do that. I just park my car at work, take an Uber over. It's like a $10 Uber over to the airport, and off we go. So, they have the distinct, airport symbols, DCA and IAD. Now, I thought, for whatever reason, it was DCA, I thought was Dulles. Now, I have obviously been to both of these airports all my life. I've gone to them, and it's no, it's no mystery, really. I've been to both of these airports, and for whatever reason, I just got the two mixed up. We went to Dulles. I get up to the ticket counter, and the guy says, in the most driest, most serious, matter-of-fact way, "You're at the wrong airport." And I look at him, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, am I being punked right now? I thought, to be completely honest, I thought it was a situation of where, it was like, hey, he knows it's travel during the holidays is stressful. Let me play a prank on this guy. And that was absolutely not the case. He was telling me straight lace as possible to me, like directly serious. "You are at the wrong airport." And for those of you that are not familiar with this area, Dulles and Reagan National are around 40 to 45 miles away from each other. Let me let that sink in for a minute. 40 to 45 miles away from each other. And if that's not enough, we were leaving Dulles at nearly 3 o'clock. See, now our flight was leaving at 6:30. And for me, I love to get at the airport super early. Now, I think nowadays, going through TSA, it's a lot more streamlined now. They get people through. It feels like a lot faster, and you don't have to wait as long. Even when there's a big line, I've really never waited any longer than maybe 20 minutes, maybe at the most. But mentally, I always tell myself, hey, bro, you need to leave early. You need to be prepared. You need to leave early. You need to be ready. And so I just you know, it's just in my habit. So we get there, we plan to get at this airport at just after like 2:30 ish. So we get out of the Uber, we get our bags, we go into the airport. We're like, all right, here we go. And the guy tells me we're at the wrong airport. So now we got to get in an Uber. We got to go back to my job to get my car, then drive my car 40 to 45 miles to Reagan National in Northern Virginia traffic, which, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you don't know this unless you live here. Some of the worst traffic on the planet. If you look, by the way, on any like top 10 worst traffic areas in this country, I can guarantee you Northern Virginia / Washington, D.C. makes that list every time. And generally, it is in the top 5. We have some of the worst traffic in the country. It's one of the reasons why I want to get the hell out of here and move to Charleston. And I know people say, oh, well, everybody's moving to Charleston. It's getting crazy down there, too. That may be true. And that's fair and all, but for me personally, I would rather be 20 minutes away from the beach instead of 4 hours away from the beach. So yeah. Okay, cool. Come at me, bro. So anyway, we drive and it takes us a little over an hour and we get there to Reagan National. We park the car and we go in the airport and we go through TSA and our flight is now delayed. Yep. Our flight now is delayed. They actually did not tell us what was wrong with the plane. They normally do not share or disclose these kind of details. It's just more of, hey, there is a malfunction with the airplane and it's going to take us anywhere from 1 to 5 hours. That is exactly what they said. It will take us anywhere from 1 to 5 hours to correct this problem. And I'm just like, oh my God. After about a half an hour of waiting, they come back on the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to move you to another gate. There will be another airline or another airplane that will be taking you. It was still JetBlue. We took JetBlue. It will be another airplane that will be taking you. So if you could please move from gate 26 to gate 28 and your airplane will be taking off in the next 25 to 30 minutes. And that was the deal. So we are delayed almost an hour. We get on a different plane. We get to Charleston. Everything is working out splendidly. Okay. Then we get the Uber. We go to Kelly and Ryan's. And in the car, my father-in-law and I, Double J, we are plotting. We are planning. We are trying to figure out just how we are going to sneak our way to the house. We're like, do we just knock on the door and go, a surprise? Do we go to the back door? Do we knock on it? Or, what do we do? They generally leave their garage door open a lot of times because they might be out there working on something or what have you. And when they're home, they leave that door. Naturally, it's unlocked. And so there's a thought, well, maybe we'll go through the garage. And at this point, I don't want them to hear me. So what I'm doing is I have my book bag and I pack way too much, by the way. I was going to pack everything into one bag, which never happened, by the way. I ended up checking a suitcase, which is never a fun idea just because it costs a lot of money. It's like $30 each way. So that was like $60 additional. And I didn't wear half the stuff I packed, just for the record. I'm sure some of you can relate. And so I have my heavy book bag, which has all my cameras and drones and everything. I have that on my back. I have my Canon G7X, which I'm using to vlog. It's what a lot of the YouTubers use to vlog their videos. I have that recording, and then I have my 40-pound gigantic suitcase, which has these really cool 4 rolling wheels on it. It's really nice and it rolls really smooth, and I'm carrying it because I don't want it to be heard on the street outside. Okay? I don't want them to know that we're here. My father-in-law got a little upset with me because I was teasing on Instagram that I was flying somewhere. Now, I decided to have fun with this. I said, let's do a couple of fun little things. Let's use some question and answer stickers on the stories. Let's use some yes, no, polling type features. Let's make Instagram a little interactive. And so the first story I say, hey, if you were in an airport right now and you could fly anywhere, where would you want to be? The next slide was, and by the way, while you're thinking about that, where should I go? North or should I go south? Now, I knew that most people were going to vote for south, but in fact, quite a few of you voted for north, which I was surprised by. And I'm trying to figure this out. So as I'm on the plane headed over to their house, and I know I'm jumping back a little bit here, my wife texts me and says, hey, Kelly is texting me, just wondering where you're going. And she's like, LOL, she's curious. And of course she had replied to the little question and answer sticker and said, come to Charleston. I'm like, oh, cuz if you only knew. And, my father-in-law's like, oh man, you done blew the surprise, man. You've done ruined the whole thing. I'm gonna kick your ass if you ruin this whole surprise. And I knew in my mind, I didn't ruin anything. Like, there's no reason that I would come to Charleston alone. In my mind, I wouldn't think that she would think that I was coming there. So I didn't pay it any mind. And when we finally landed, Instagram, you can tag yourself anywhere. A lot of different influencers or people that are trying to build their Instagram following will use different geotagging locations to try to get seen in different spots and stuff like that. So I actually tagged in my story. I took a picture of me by the airplane window on a landed tarmac saying, hello, New Orleans. And I tagged the New Orleans airport. Brilliant. I know. Trying to keep the surprise going. And of course I'm flooded with DMs. Hey man, what's going on in New Orleans? What are you doing? I actually don't think I have anybody that follows me that lives in New Orleans, but, just a bunch of people say, oh, that's so cool. You should check out this and that. And it was really nice. I appreciate it. And I hate to have to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and surprise them like this. And I didn't like to lie to say I was somewhere else that I wasn't. It was just more or less, I had to do that to cover up. And so anyway, we take the Uber, we get to the house. Like I said, I was lifting the heavy suitcase and I'm walking across the thing, and we are going into the garage. Double J says, hey man, let's go in the garage. And he's like, we'll just walk in the house. And, if I remember correctly, I think he said, hey, we'll just walk into the living room, have a seat, cause they're probably upstairs, either in the shower or, whatever. They're probably upstairs, and, we'll just walk in the living room and sit there, and they'll just be like, what the fuck? What are you guys doing? I just want to apologize for that, because I was trying to keep this a clean episode and I let it slip. I'm sorry. Now I have to put the explicit tag for one bad word. Anyway, so they'd be like, what's going on? Why are they here? So anyway, the moment we get to the door in the garage, it opens. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And this now legendary face of my cousin with her mouth just wide open, and she says, oh my God, what are you guys doing here? And, cause she's not expecting us, she lives, 500 to 600 miles away, and she's not expecting this. And, it was just kind of a fun surprise to see a look on her face. And, it was like, I thought you were in New Orleans. I'm like, well, I'm here. And then I had to, post a story to my Instagram that said, hey guys, I'm actually in Charleston. This is where I want to be. And we wanted to surprise them for Christmas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also Ryan was in the shower when we got there. So before I posted that Instagram story, I actually, set up the camera for a second shot. So we got to surprise him too, snuck up on him, and he was blown away as well, which was really, really fun just to see the reactions. Made that entire trip so worth it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, we're just out here doing amazing things. And, we had a good time there while in Charleston. Christmas party. I had way too much to drink, and yeah, just a lot of fun, just a lot of, just going around doing different things. The city's beautiful. I flew my drone a lot. I didn't get to make it to the beach. It was kind of windy, so I didn't want the drone to fly away. But I was telling Ryan, I was like, next time we get down there, we got to go back to the beach and do some drone flying. I think that'll be a ton of fun. So got that on the docket for the next trip, and it's just a lot of fun. They're actually far less restrictive down there about flying your drones as opposed to up here, because they have the whole rule where, like, if you're within 15 miles of the airport in DC, you cannot fly it. They have like this actual like red ring around Dulles and National, where the drone laws are far more stricter within those guidelines. And luckily the DJI app doesn't even let you fly in those areas. So it's not like you can say, well, the hell with you, I'm breaking the law. Like, you can't even do that. The app will not even let you take off. So believe me, I've tried. So had a good time with that. Got home, and of course I went straight to the gym because that's just what I do. Wanted to record a podcast for this week, and I did that. And that was kind of just a little behind the scenes look at my trip and kind of the things that went into it. Pretty much that's kind of like the backstory on that. So beyond that, I just want to say I hope you guys had a very, very Merry Christmas. If you didn't celebrate it, I hope you just had a great day in general. New Year's is coming up. It's rapidly approaching, and I've got some cool stuff in mind for the next year, and I cannot wait to share some of that stuff with you on the next week's episode of the podcast. And those of you who are subscribing to me on Patreon, like my lovely, awesome Patreon producers, podcast producers, Daryl at Your Level Fitness and Amy at Gem of the Gym, GEM of the GYM. I'm going to make sure I spell that out. They are two of the podcast producers from Patreon. It is one of the tiers that I have, and I'll just take a moment to tell you about Patreon in case you might be interested. I want to thank you, number one, for supporting small creators like myself, especially when I look at those download numbers. I really appreciate it. I am trying to monetize my efforts. How's that for transparency? I'm trying to monetize my efforts. Why? Because I want to make this podcast bigger and better than ever before. I want to do more of them, and I want to travel on the road to meet more of you, to hear your story in person. That is two of the biggest reasons that I am trying to monetize my efforts. The more time that I can spend creating this content for you guys, whether it be for this podcast or plans that I want to have for YouTube. If I can get a certain amount a month, I can donate 100% of my working time into this podcast. Okay. There are ways to monetize your efforts, and I encourage you guys to think long and hard about this, because, a lot of times we go to jobs that we don't like, we don't care for. I'm actually fortunate that I like my job. But there are a lot of creative things that I wish I had more time to do, and I need to make a living. And so the more money that I can make, with things like Patreon, the more I can monetize this podcast, the better chance I can have to dedicate more and more time to it. And as a result, deliver more great content for you guys. So with that being said, that long-winded spiel out of the way, I welcome patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. You can donate as low as $1. Now, $1 is kind of like the tip jar, the tip bucket, if you will. That's just saying, hey, I love what you do. Here's $1, bro. Go do your thing. I love it. If every one of you that listen to this podcast this year could drop $1 on that bucket. I mean, just $1, the amount of mountains I could move with just that $1 would blow me away. But let me tell you what, if you're willing to up that ante just a little bit, right? If you're willing to go up just a hair to $4 a month, I am going to give you this podcast ad-free. You won't hear all this Patreon stuff. You won't hear about my shirts. You won't hear about leave me a review on iTunes. You just get the intro music and then the podcast, and that's it. That's what you get. You get it ad-free, and you get it a couple of days early. That's what I try to do for you guys. I want to provide it early so that way you can hear it. You can check it out a couple of days early. Now, if you do the $10 a month, that's the podcast producer tier, and that tier gets your name shouted out, like my pal Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Amy at Gem of the Gym. It gets you a shout out just like that, usually a couple of times in the show, but at the minimum one time a show. Almost think of it like an advertising thing, right? Like, you know, a lot of the people listen to me are from Instagram, so it's like an Instagram shout out every week on the podcast. Can you imagine? And if you were like a small business, like I know Daryl runs a small business at Your Level Fitness, $10 a month is like just some very small advertising. I mean, go try to run Facebook ad for $10 a month advertising your business. And I don't necessarily want to just use it for that, but if we get enough interest in people wanting to do that, we're going to add new tiers for advertising. But $10 a month, you get you know, everything as far as the podcast early, the podcast ad free. And I didn't even mention, I forgot to mention this, the close friends group on my Instagram where I'm posting exclusive stories that no one else is seeing behind the scenes of what I'm doing. I'm posting it for that group. That is included as low as the $4 tier. You definitely get it in the $10 tier. For $20 is the Hard Work Squad tier, in which you get a t-shirt after 1 month of paid patronage. You get sent a Hard Work Always Wins t-shirt. This is kind of a unique tier, and it may be complicated to some, or I may be complicating it with my explanation of it, but hear me out, because the frugalness in me, the want to save money in me, thinks that you may like this tier a lot. And the reason why is if you go on my website right now and you want to buy a shirt, those shirts are $25. When you add in the $5 shipping, now they're $30. So for $20, there's no shipping. For $20, you can get a t-shirt. That's right. Boom. Done. Now, if I were you, I would pay for that one $20 a month. Once that payment clears, that's when the shirt ships. That's how it works. I can't have you sign up. I ship the shirt, then you cancel it. And you know, that's just a whole, we're not about that life, folks. Nice try. $20 a month. You pay one payment, you get the shirt shipped out to you. And then here's what you do. Then you just downgrade to the $10 a month or the $4 a month. And you got your shirt at a discount. If you want another one, you can always re-up. But, I am at the point right now where it's like you pay the one time and you get the shirt. And then if you just want to downgrade to the $4 tier, go right ahead. No problem. Downgrade to the $4 tier. And that's how that works. I think that's the best way to do that one personally. Get your shirt, then get down to the $4. You know, that way you can still get all of your other perks that are included with that $4 a month subscription. Or if you want the $10 with the shout out, you can always do that as well. Okay. Also, once you enter the Hard Work Squad tier, you get another access. You get access to the Hard Work Always Wins Instagram close friends group. Now, this is key, because this group I actually started. This is what gave me the idea to do the close friends group on my personal Instagram. But on this Instagram, I'm doing exclusive discounts that customers of my store are getting, or if they've ever want to give away. Like basically, if you own one of my shirts, you're in this group. Okay. And in this group, I drop exclusive discounts that I don't do for just, any time. These are very special discounts that we do on the drop of a hat. I mean, on a dime, we just drop a discount. Boom. This discount's active for the next 8 hours. Go. Also coming soon, there will be exclusive designs that are going to be for this group that no one else is allowed to get. And also, I give you, I'm going to be giving you a behind the scenes look on the biz. Hey guys, I'm thinking about this design. What do you think? You like this design? You like this design? Vote left, vote right, whatever it is. I'm going to really make this as interactive as possible. And I'm going to leverage this Instagram close friends thing to give people who have supported my business the ultimate access into what it takes to do this thing, and giving people voting power for stuff that they like and maybe stuff that they don't like. So there you go. And then of course discounts, because that's really what I think everybody is really going to love. And every time I drop one of these discounts, we always get at least a couple of orders. And I really appreciate that. So make sure you guys check that out. And then finally, we have the $50 tier. And this is if you want something a little bit extra, a little bit special. This is access to me. Now, what do I mean by that? Because obviously, anytime you DM me on Instagram, I'm always getting back to you guys. I try to get back to everybody. Sometimes I miss DMs. Somebody's like, hey, I wrote you a week ago. I never heard from you. I'm sorry. I get a lot of DMs, and I try to keep up with each and every one of them that I can. There are times where some of them get missed. What this $50 tier actually does, though, is we're going to do one call a month, one Skype call a month for up to 1 hour. So for $50 a month, you get everything that I already mentioned. You get the shirt one time once the payment clears. You get the ad-free early access to the podcast. You get access to both of the Instagram close friends groups, and then you get an hour, up to an hour with me. Maybe you're having issues in your own life and, your own struggles with your weight loss, or, the mindset of it, which I think is really my strongest suit, is the mindset. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a fitness coach, but some of you guys say, hey man, I love your podcast. I love the way you think about things. I'd love to just run all my problems by you and have you tell me everything's going to be okay. And I'm happy to do that. So for $50 a month, you can get some unique access to the podcast, as well as up to an hour once a month with me over Skype, video if you want it, and we can talk. We can hang out for an hour and just talk about stuff. If you're local to the area, we could arrange a meetup. I'm fine with that too. But yeah, that's what $50 will get you, and that's one call per month, up to 1 hour. So that's Patreon. This is it, guys. I'm making a big play for 2019. I'm going to outline those plans in the next podcast, but I'm trying to make a big play, and I want you guys to, if you love this show and maybe you don't want to spend, $25, $30 in my store, and I understand that, but maybe you say, hey, I'd love to even just throw a buck at you or something like that. I'm happy to, take that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that more than you know, but I'm trying to monetize my efforts here because I want to make it so that I can dedicate all my time to content creator. I'm a small business, a small creator, and the more support I get, the better off it's going to be, and the more creative that I can get, and the more cooler things I can do for all of you. So thank you for checking that out. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We'll catch you next time. Let me tell you guys about hardworkalwayswins.com. It's not just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I want you guys to rep it today. Join the squad. We got t-shirts, we got beanies, we got hats, we got tank tops, hoodies, phone cases, you name it, we got it. Just in the store as of this week. I am worth the fight. Are you worth the fight? Damn right you're worth the fight. So get the shirt and show everybody what's up. We got Fight Like Hell for the Life You Want. We got the 4 pillars. We got the original OG Hard Work Always Wins shirt in many different designs. All you got to do is head over to hardworkalwayswins.com, enter the code SQUAD at checkout, and I'm going to take 10% off your very first order. That's right. I'm doing that. I went there. So go to the store, check it out, find what you want, add that code SQUAD at checkout, and join the hard work squad today.